Time to do Strikeforce review. I did not get to see this whole card. Was playing soccer and it went a little bit late, so I did miss the first couple fights. But I saw the big fights and I'm pleased with that. I went perfect on the undercard. So that was a bit of a bummer. I hate when that happens, when I get the perfect undercard and then my main card is not as good. It kind of makes me feel like, you know, people are going to think I did a shitty job picking this card and they're not going to look at the undercard. Oh well, whatever. We move on from that. Did not see Verdum versus Mike Kyle. Is apparently very quick. Basically like I thought it would be. Mike Kyle's not that good, and Verdum appears to actually be back in shape, having weighed in at 228 instead of the 240s he's weighing at in the UFC. Out of shape, Verdum. I'm going to leave a little disclaimer at this moment. There are going to be some people that are not going to like how I'm going to talk about the Carano Santos fight. I'm not going to name names right now, but if you predict MMA videos and your name starts with a C, you might not want to watch it. Moving on, we had the first fight I actually got to see, Melendez versus Ishida. This fight surprised me. I mean, two things kind of stood out about it. Was the one that Ishida couldn't take Melendez down. That was one, but that didn't overly surprise me as much as Ishida guessing. That was weird, in a nutshell. Very weird, because I've never seen Ishida gas before, and he did. So, go figure. Melendez wins. One thing I'm going to say though is that the Strikeforce key to victory thing, what the heck is with that? The key to victory is the knee in the clinch. Actually, the Musasi one was really good. The key to victory is the side mount armbar. What the? Anyways, please take that away, Strikeforce. So anyways, Melendez wins. Did not like Melendez's attitude after the fight. Where's my belt? Beat Josh Thompson, you get the belt back. Shut up, please. I don't like fighters that do that. I really don't. You're getting your title shot. Just prepare for it and win it. Just shut up. Then we have Babalu versus Musasi. This surprised the crap out of me because Musasi took Babalu down. Not that he finished him with strikes. That I saw. I picked Babalu, but because I thought, you know, this would be interesting. But Musasi took him down, pounded him out from. I'm not really quite sure if it was mount or half guard. I couldn't really see Babalu's legs on the stream, so I don't know what the position was, but I think it was mount. And he kind of pounded him out, or he was just standing over him landing shots. Really, we'll go with that. Sean brought up Musasi in the UFC. It won't happen because Musasi's under an M1 contract, much like Fedor. And also, I think this is a legitimate thing with Musasi, is he really likes to fight in multiple places, and the UFC will not do that. They're the only promotion in the world that does exclusivity. I'm not saying exclusivity is wrong. I'm just stating the facts. He likes fighting in Dream. He likes fighting in the States. He likes fighting in Japan. He likes fighting in Europe. I mean, and that seems to be very important to him. I don't know if it is. I've never, spoken to the man, but it seems that that's pretty important to him. So I don't think we'll see him in the UFC. And that's another thing of, do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but it's a fighter's prerogative, and there's a lot of interesting fights outside of the UFC for Musasi. Not so much in Strikeforce, because the two divisions he would generally fight in are kind of thin in Strikeforce, but there's a lot of interesting potential fights out there for him. Moving on to the main event of the evening, and for one thing, I would like to tell certain people to shut up about how this fight will end MMA, that MMA will never be the same, and how this fight is really, really risky. You know what? Females fighting each other and one getting stopped is going to generate a bad opinion. It doesn't help to have people who are hardcore fans of the sport saying that this is a bad idea and attracting attention to how brutal this stoppage is and how that will make more trouble rather than less trouble. I mean, if we can't look at a female fight and look at it as it's an MMA fight, not two girls fighting each other, how the heck is anyone else supposed to be? So please, cram it. I know this is horribly unprofessional. That's why I wasn't invited to MMA Talk. I don't want to be on that website, by the way. I'll address that later if I have time. Anyways, as for the fight, it was a little more one-sided than I thought, because I thought the striking would actually be a little bit closer. I had picked Cyborg, of course. I had a second round stoppage, if I recall correctly, I believe, because I thought that Cyborg had the X factor, which is I thought she had a better ground game, and I thought she was a better wrestler. I thought she could take Gina down and finish her there, and she did. I just thought the striking would be somewhat more equal, and it would be kind of a somewhat even first round, and then, you know, Cyborg would turn it on and stop her. That did not turn out to be the case. Cyborg got the better of the striking. Gina abandoned mount, which was weird. I'm not saying it was wrong, because I don't know I mean, watching a stream, you never get, you know, as well good of a picture as you probably would have. Someone who watched on Showtime, please tell me, because I don't get Showtime, whether there was some threat from Cyborg in that term. There may have been. Anyways, as for the stoppage itself, that was not a brutal stoppage. I have seen worse stoppages in UFC fights, pride fights, and so on between men, and no one says anything. But because it's a pretty girl, we are sudden, oh my god, it was so bad, it was so brutal. No. Like I said, if we can't look at this fight as if it's a fight, not, you know, Gina, then how is anyone else supposed to? That's really as simple as it gets. And I would, you know, respectfully ask people to treat it as a fight, not go overboard on this. And if there's trouble at the fight, so what? We deal with it. The fight's gonna happen whether we like it or not. So this whole saying that this is a disastrous idea is not so much stupid, it's just ineffective. I'll go with that word. Anyways, so Cyborg becomes the first female champion of Strikeforce. Fight was definitely over, by the way. The controversy over whether the bell ran at first. No, she was not in condition to fight, and you know that's how it goes. I'm gonna point out a couple things. One, MMA professor or MMA analyst Karsten. Cyborg and Gina are the top 2 women's fighters in the world. Have you heard of Megumi Fuji? If you have, slap yourself, because that was stupid. And this is not an opinion thing. You just look at who she's beaten. It's kind of like going with, let's put it this way, Gina's biggest win over this, coming into this fight, was probably Kelly Cobalt, who had not fought in like a while. She had been in like semi-retirement. And Cyborg's biggest win was Shayna Baszler. And that's kind of like saying, take just 2 random 105er or 155ers in the UFC and say that one has the biggest win between them, and it's over, what's an equivalent in 145 to Shayna Baszler? Let's go with Big Frog Jeff Curran, actually. I'll go with Cub Swanson, because, you know, Cub Swanson actually trains with Shayna sometimes. So there's a little tie in there. And their biggest win between them is beating Cub Swanson. Would we be talking about number 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 in the world at that weight class? We wouldn't. So what are you doing? I know female MMA is incredibly shallow, but don't buy into the Gina and Cyborg hype that the American market, or well, not the American market, but the Strikeforce and Affliction have put behind them. Affliction had a little bit to do with it. Well, it was more, pardon me, Strikeforce Elite XC to put behind them. Don't do that. It's really something I don't want to see YouTubers on here buying into the hype when the hype is not accurate. Second up, I guess I'll talk about MMA Talk because I got about a minute here. Don't want to be on the website because I honestly don't care about getting free swag that much. I think some of the picks they put on there were not the best picks. I'm not going to name names because I think that's unfair to them, because I think they're trying. And another thing is, if you're going to get so worked up when someone criticizes it, then you probably better publicly, you know, explain why who's there and who isn't. It's not everyone knows the inner workings. Like Chase was arguing with me over Facebook. They kept arguing with me like, you know, everyone should know everything Chase knows about MMA Talk. And that's the problem. Not everyone does. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I'm probably not gonna be on speaking terms with Chase and Carson because they're not gonna like what I said. But good.